Hello, everyone, and welcome to, I guess, a mock draft Monday or whatever. This is probably going up on a Monday. We are recording this on Thursday night, 8 o'clock Mountain Daylight Time, April 3rd, so before even the Colorado Pro Day, which I saw actually might be canceled. But I'm joined with my father, and we are doing a mock draft, and it's going to be a lot of arguing, isn't it?
No, just acknowledge the fact that I'm correct and you have a lot to learn.
See? If you want to hear a father and son argue about football, you're in the right spot. But I will be doing the odds. He will be doing the evens. This is no trades. Trades are so hard to predict. We don't do them here on this channel. And this is kind of with what we think is going to happen mixed in with what we like for players. Like, we have different grades on these players, and we will be making our own selections, but we have to stay within reason of what the actual pick could end up being. And I'm kicking things right off the Tennessee Titans, and I could say, hey, I think they should go this direction. We all know at this point where they're picking. They're going Cam Ward. Now, I understand this pick, and if Cam Ward is their guy, if they believe he can be a franchise quarterback, he is the pick you make. I don't agree that he should be the pick. I think you go Abdul Carter because I think this team's still going to be very bad next year and can draft a guy. But you also have the argument of, we don't know how long this coaching staff and general manager is going to have. The past GM, I believe, was fired after 2 years. If he only has 2 years and your second year is banking on a rookie quarterback, kind of hard to go that direction. So you get Cam Ward for 2 years, work with him. You have a better offensive line on paper. Your receiving core still needs some work to do, but you can come back and get a receiver top of the second round and just improve the team overall.
I'd say I agree with a lot of what you're saying. You know, one of the things that just kind of cracks me up is you're still not addressing one of the weakest issues on the team, which is the offensive line, right? So who is to say that a lot of the same problems aren't going to be happening this year
I'm
with a
praying
new rookie core?
I'm praying Callahan does his magic.
Well, I mean, you know, that's that's always something nice to hear, but we still just don't know. One of the things that, if I was them, what I would do honestly is I would trade out. I think the Giants would willingly give up quite a bit. You know, even if you went down to where, you know, you probably wouldn't want to go down as far as to where the Saints were, but you could trade down a little bit, still get one of those top 4 or 5 players in the draft that's going to help your team and position yourself for next year, right? We've seen it every year. Just because it's a top quarterback in the draft doesn't mean it's a top player in the draft.
No, but you also have pressure from ownership, which we are not fully aware of.
Oh, completely, 100%.
Yes. Now, you have the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns are in a very interesting spot. They have Kenny Pickett as their starting quarterback. They re-signed Myles Garrett. They don't have a lot else, really. So what direction are you going?
You know, I mean, just like you said, they really don't have a quarterback. Uh, they need some work on the offensive line. To be quite honest, they need a running back as well. That does not mean that I'm going to take Genty number 2. Just saying that these are things that they definitely need. My thought process here, though, is I still don't think they're going to be good enough next year to contend. They're going to get rid of some of the salary cap issues next year. So they'll be more in line to be competitive next year. And so I think you take, in my opinion, the best player in the draft, who's Abdul Carter, stick him opposite of Myles Garrett, who is, you know, top 3 in the NFL so far as defensive lineman, and you create havoc. They still got some pieces in the back end of the defense, so their defense could be a top 10 defense this year.
It's very possible. And listen, I'm a Steeler fan. That terrifies me.
It should terrify any team that has to play him, to be quite honest.
Now, if I was the Browns, I would maybe consider going Hunter, just because, and this is my strict argument, you need someone to sell tickets. If you're Cleveland, you're opening up a brand new stadium, You need that marketable star. I think Travis Hunter is by far the biggest star in this class. And I'm taking that strictly from a business ownership standpoint of what I could see them doing.
The only thing that I'll say against that is that he's still technically kind of undersized. We don't know how he's going to do with a lot of the transition into the NFL, right? Whereas Abdul Carter, even if he's not everything that we think he is, he's still going to be good enough to take some of that where you can't just, double team and triple team Garrett, and a defense that it's highly aggressive, I think, is better than just one player. It's aka Legion of Boom.
Yep, and I understand with what you're saying. Now, here I am with the Giants, and I could take that star on Travis Hunter. He's a very, very good football player. And I'm going to put myself in the position of the Giants general manager and head coach. They're not guaranteed a second season. They are very much not. This is do or die time. So I have a choice here. I could go Travis Hunter, who can make an impact on the defense or offense side of the football, or I could take the most win-now player in this draft in Ashton Jeanty. This is a very difficult decision. I expect, and I will be taking Travis Hunter here, but come draft night, I would not be shocked if Ashton Jeanty's the pick.
That I totally understand where you're going there. I just don't think Travis Hunter works here. I to be quite honest, I hadn't thought much about Jeanty, but their secondary, they've paid players in their secondary. You're not going to put him into the slot because the nickel comes down and he's not big enough to take on offensive linemen in the box. So I'm not sure why you'd really want him on the, to draft on the defense. And offensively, they've paid quite a few receivers and they still have Neighbors from last year. So I'm not saying that he's probably not one of the better players at this point in the draft, but I think you take a player that is going to affect you now more so and work better with your team. So I get what you're saying about Jeanty. I would have thought, something honestly like Mason Graham or even, one of the tight ends to give yourself another weapon. But like I said, I totally get where you're going, taking him and bringing up Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, it's just the Giants are hard to predict. Now, am I strictly based this off of what I've been looking? I do a bunch of research before I say, I think this team's going to draft here. I checked a lot of bet sites. Travis Hunter is the odds-on favorite to be their pick. I have looked through a lot of the stuff. Giants have been very involved in Travis Hunter scouting, as are a lot of teams in the top 10, don't get me wrong, but it kind of feels like that's the direction they're going. Would I make the pick? Probably not. If I was strictly the general manager, and I was making the pick of what I would do to save my ass, because that's what he has to do, I'd pick Jeanty because I think he gives you the best chance to win games. But the Giants are in the position that they need to draft guys that make sense, that can impact both sides of the ball, because this team needs so much help. Travis Hunter can impact both sides of the football. They need help everywhere. This is far from a complete team. This is not a team that should be contending for the playoffs, but they're going to need you to save their jobs, and Hunter can give you on both sides of the ball at least.
So just so we're clear, I have you on video saying that you would take Ashton Jeanty 3rd overall in an NFL draft.
Yes.
I love hearing that, by the way.
That's your birthday gift. Enjoy it.
We've got the Patriots on the clock right now. The Patriots could definitely take a running back. And to be quite honest, I think if we're being honest, with the exception of maybe the Jets, Jeanty's on the board for everybody now, right? I mean, the Patriots could take him.
I don't know about the Panthers because they've invested money in the position and they just drafted Brooks last year. So
yeah, but I mean,
that's questionable.
Huge injury again. As much as I love him, I don't know if you could, in good conscience, pass on him. That being said, I'm not going to draft him. I think that they have too many other holes to fill on the team. And to be quite honest, with the depth of this running back class, if it's me, unless it's Genty or a couple of the others, I think some of these players that are going to be really, really good and really, really impact players are going to be UDFAs, right? So it would not push a running back on up the board for me. That being said, I think that they still need weapons, and I'm going to take Tyler Warren here. He can help out with some blocking. He gives the offense another weapon. You can pick up a receiver, in the second or third round that is an impact. I'm not a huge fan of Tet. You know that. I think he's going to have a lot of problems with press coverages. So let's give him something in the middle of the field to open up.
Another weapon. They have more weapons?
Well, yeah.
Who? I know they just paid Stephon Diggs, but he's coming off a torn ACL.
I understand that. But for value, I think that the tight ends this early in the draft have a higher value than the wide receivers this early in the draft, just for impact.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, you said another weapon for the Patriots. What weapons do they already have?
I honestly like their running backs a little bit. Do I think that they're as good as Genty? No, I don't. But, I like their backs. They've got complementary weapons. Let's face it, these players are playing in the NFL. So.
On one of the worst teams. But anyways, the Jaguars. Now, the Jags could honestly go a couple positions here. I think we all know who the pick will be if they're picking here. They're a prime trade down candidate, especially with the Raiders here. I could see a team making a deal to jump over the Raiders to draft a guy. But I just not allowing trades. I'm going to pick the best player on the board with what makes sense for them. I'm taking Mason Graham. I'm a big Mason Graham fan. I do not think the Jaguars have a good interior D line. Mason Graham probably becomes their best interior D lineman. He improves their defense drastically. You can now blitz your linebackers more effectively with having him. And this is a team that has been drafting traits over production, traits over film. And what has that gotten them? It's about time they draft production and film over traits.
Fair enough. I completely agree with that. But then again, you and I, over the past few years, as we've been doing these, I'm more of a production on the field versus traits person anyway. So I understand that traits are important for player development, but you see what you see. And a lot of times it doesn't develop into the NFL because you're going up against better talents anyway, right? So as I had said before, anywhere on here, Genty is definitely an option. Pete Carroll is going to love what Ashton Genty could be. Is he Marshawn? Definitely not. I don't think he's got the outgoing. He runs hard. That's definitely true. But it's that on the field moxie that Lynch had that helped create that persona that the Seahawks had for so long, that toughness. But Pete likes different players, and so what I'm thinking here, just judging off of some of the needs that they have, and one of his last drafts in Seattle when they drafted Witherspoon, I think Jahdae Barron would be a perfect candidate here. They definitely need defensive back help. Do I think Barron is Witherspoon? Super, super similar. And he also has a moxie to him that defense is going to need if they're going to play like a Pete Carroll defense has, right? So I'm going to take Jahdae Barron here.
Interesting. Barron's someone I'm either very high on or very low on for the team. He needs to go to the right system. He feels like a very system-based guy to me. Now, here I am with the Jets, and I have some good options here. I would like to get another receiver opposite of Garrett Wilson. I can take the best receiver in the class. Maybe I take Ash Genty and I look to flip a Brees Hall. Probably not going to do that. I could take an offensive lineman here to try and fix that train wreck. I could take a defense tackle here and just kind of build out that defense more that really fell off down the stretch once Robert Saleh was fired and just give Aaron Glenn a guy. But with all that being said, there was one issue with the Jets that was very noticeable outside of quarterback last year. That was offensive line. I'm going to take Will Campbell here.
Still living in that fantasy world. The Panthers are on the clock. God, the second half of that season, they kind of turned it around a little bit. And they definitely need to get more help on the offense. They need running back help, I think, just because I'm really not sure if Brooks is going to make it back like he was. He's had so many injuries as of late. I'm going to take Jihad Campbell here for them. He provides edge help that they need. I just love his dual purpose playability, if that's even a word. And as a team that needs help in quite a few positions, if you have a player that you really wouldn't need to take off the field because in a third down set, he can actually go and rush the passer, turn into, another edge defender, an edge rusher, will help that team out.
So I got to ask you, because it is debate, would you consider Jalen Walker here over Jihad Campbell, considering they are very, very similar players?
No. To be quite honest, if I was going to draft edge still here, I think it would be Mike Green.
And that's without us knowing that his.
Oh, that's absolutely. That is just based off of what they did on the field.
Yes. Understandable. Now, here I am with the Saints. Saints, again, another team that could go Genty. They have so many needs. I feel like taking a running back here would kind of be a miss, especially in a loaded running back class. And I could go so many directions. I don't care for their pass rushing unit. I think could use an upgrade. I'm concerned Chris Olave won't be in New Orleans much longer. I could take a receiver here. Colson Loveland, I think, would be a really good asset for them. And
No, he wouldn't.
Zip it. He's not falling to where you want. There's so many possibilities the Saints could do. Even if you wanted to say cornerback, which is where I'm going to go because I'm going to take my best player on the board with positional value and need in mind. That'd be Will Johnson. I think the Saints could go with whatever guy they want. I just view Will Johnson in a higher light. I think he is one of the most instinctual players in this class. He jumps routes really good. He has a great break on the ball. He's a very talented player, and I think that's something the Saints need. They just need talent because they lack a lot of it.
So just out of curiosity, I know we're not super, super high on the quarterbacks here. Have you given any thought to the rumors out there that Jackson Dart is in play to the Saints simply because of where he played, that kind of notoriety, kind of like a built-in fan base already.
So can I say my theory as to why that's been building up hype? NFL teams view him as a second-round pick, not a first-round pick. The Saints view him as someone who will be on the board at their top end of the second round. They could trade up and draft, or he'll be there for their second-round pick overall. I do not think they're taking Dart top 10 because I don't see it. You can argue positional value. I'd also argue he has some of the worst games out of any prospect in this class when it came down to the clutch. And that's a big issue. And you can say he'll sit behind Derek Carr, all that. I very much understand that. He does not have the pocket awareness you would need for the Saints offensive line. He just doesn't. He doesn't have the mobility it needs. It would be sending a lamb to the slaughterhouse. And I think too highly of Kellen Moore to think he would view that like that situation.
Fair enough. So I'm just shocked, and one of our favorite content creators would be probably hurting himself doing backflips if this were to happen, that Ashton Jeanty was on the board here for the Chicago Bears, and they're going to run that pickup so fast that they're probably going to pull a hamstring.
How happy would Ben Johnson be?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I mean, he unlocks so much of the offense just because he's good at everything, right? So, I mean, to be quite honest, if you think about it, he's almost like the two backs that he had in Detroit all in one.
Yeah, he is David Montgomery with the Jahmyr Gibbs speed, which is terrifying, honestly. Now,
absolutely.
Now, here's a better question. Who would be happier, the fan base, Ben Johnson, or Caleb Williams?
I don't know. Caleb likes to throw the ball, so I don't know about him passing the ball off too much.
Caleb likes to throw the ball, but Caleb kind of got murdered last year.
Well, yeah, but that was offensive line issues, right? So, and they've done their best to address that thus far. Through free agency and everything. We'll see if it actually works on the field, but at least they were making concerted efforts, right?
Yep. So, you're going to hate me. The 49ers have a need, and it's youth. They're trying to get younger. You can say, oh, they'll take offensive linemen. Until the 49ers actually invest a pick high in offensive linemen, I'm not going to believe it. They just don't believe in investing in that position, so I'm not going to waste my time and come out and spout they should take Membu here and improve them. They just don't believe in that philosophy. They believe they can get their guys later on in the draft and develop them. So with that in mind, doing with what I think they'll do, the board falls this way, I got to take Mike Green.
I thought you were going to trade for Trey Lance.
Isn't he a free agent still?
Oh, I didn't know he was a free agent. No.
Yeah, he's a free agent. I'm 9% certain. But I take Mike Green here. The 49ers are moving in the direction of a youth movement, which makes me think Nick Bosa is not long for that team due to his injury history. And they're going to try and get younger. They have to cut cap with how much they're going to be paying Purdy, Ayuk, all that. And Bosa is an odd man looking out. And you can take a guy like Mike Green with his skill set here. I can't guarantee the 49ers will be picking the position to get another edge rusher with his capabilities in the near future.
Do you think that it's a complete youth movement, or do you think that ownership is just tired of paying the contracts that they're paying and not getting the reward that they want to get?
I think it's a youth movement mixed in with they need to get healthier, because that's been a big thing is these 49ers, they're so physical. They practice physical, they play physical, that it takes a wear and tear on the body. You know who I could see going here as well? And it's very underrated. I could see Colson Loveland going here to replace Kittle.
I just don't like that move for them.
Is it because it scares you or because you love Kittle?
Well, a little bit of everything. Colson Loveland right now, for me, as I'm looking at the draft board, would be an amazing pick for. Although I already took Mike Green for you for them. So, but the Cowboys could use him. The Dolphins could use him. The Colts could use him. The Falcons really probably need to move on from Pitts. They could use him. I have literally taken him with the Cardinals to go with a 12 personnel set to complement McBride. So I think, I mean, to be
Which,
quite honest,
congratulations to Trey McBride. Woo!
absolutely. Talk about a player that deserves it, right? Not only has his on the field been, but I mean, just a nice guy, hasn't complained about anything, didn't complain because he never got targeted, in the red zone. Just a hell of a teammate, a hell of a player. And that's coming from a Seahawks fan, right? But I mean, if we're looking at this, how far down do you have to go before you decide, yeah, Colson Loveland really doesn't need to be the pick there? I mean, Pittsburgh has probably the most viable tight end, but if they could add Colson Loveland, they'd be, I mean, in Green Bay at 23, they've got a couple of good tight ends. They really wouldn't need Colson Loveland. But before that, he's something that everybody that's coming in the next 10 picks, 10, 12 picks, he should be on the board for him.
Well, he's about to be off the board. Let's put it like this. I have someone in mind that's coming up. Mm-hmm. But here you are with America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. What do you got?
Yeah. I know they need wide receiver help. They need running back help. They need defense.
They need ownership help.
It's not sexy, but they just lost one of the best players in that franchise. And to be quite honest, if I'm the Cowboys here, I would trade down if anybody was willing. But not only do they need offensive line help, but they need the right offensive line help. And what I mean by that is they need somebody that not only is a really, really good offensive lineman, but he also has attitude. And I'm going to take Gray Zabel here.
Wow. Okay. I was not expecting that. So this is the guy that has rose up your draft boards a lot.
This is a guy that pre everything, right? I wasn't huge on. Not to say that he wasn't a really good player, but the whole competition, did he have to go up against it? But what he showed what he has shown just in the combine and everything, he's the real deal. And he's so diverse in what he can do, and he's got an attitude, right? And I don't know who else on that team anymore has attitude. They don't have what they used to have on that offensive line,
which
right?
has been sorely missed. Like especially when they go against the Eagles, who just beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, they get bullied, and it's not just bullied physically. I think they're bullied mentally, and his attitude is what's needed.
So this is a question I wanted to ask. Gray Zabel is someone who stayed loyal to his college, even though it's the FCS level. Do you think if he transferred up to the FBS level and probably went to a Power 5 team, because I'm sure teams would have taken him, do you think he'd be discussed a lot higher by just non-draft experts? Like the regular person would think much higher of him.
Oh gosh, absolutely. There's 100%. If he was as successful, in a Power 5 school, he would definitely be considered much higher. But I mean, if you listen to the pundits, you listen to the analysts,
they love him.
You listen to offensive linemen that have played in the NFL when they're talking about him, and I mean that's a ringing endorsement. So he has everything that the Cowboys need. And I know it's not sexy, but
Cowboy fans, if you hate this pick, do yourself a favor. Look up the FCS championship game against the Montana State Bobcats. The Bobcats dominated everyone up front. Watch Zabel. Watch what he did.
He's amazing. Yeah, and Cowboy fans, if you don't like it, you can heckle me. It's okay. But when he's a Pro Bowler and an all an all pro, and you're welcome.
Yeah. So remember who the guy we were just talking about? A fallen. He's not fallen. Colston Loveland's the pick here.
Oh, man.
And before anyone says they need offensive line help, I 100% agree. But Mike McDaniels comes from that Kyle Shanahan thought process of, we'll get our offensive lineman later. It's something I've noticed with the Dolphins in drafting, that they draft very similarly to the 49ers. With that mindset, I don't expect them to go offensive line here.
Are you concerned, though, that Colston Loveland's not fast enough to be a Dolphin?
That is a little bit of a concern, but you know who Colston Loveland has reminded me of for a while? George Kittle. He just has. Something about him has reminded me of Kittle. I don't know what, but I do know Mike McDaniels had great success when he was coaching George Kittle in San Francisco.
Yeah, well, that hurt. I'm telling you.
Well, yeah, you wanted him to fall to 18.
He's one of my draft crushes. Absolutely. I think
a Michigan Wolverine is one of your draft crushes.
There's just but there's another draft crush I have that's a Michigan Wolverine. So I mean, it really hurts my soul to say that.
Go Big Blue.
Well, Seattle is blue, blue uniform. So I guess I'll liken it to that. So we have the Colts on the clock.
A blue team.
Yeah, exactly. And shocker, okay, the two tight ends that have been talked about for this team are not here.
You sound so happy about that.
I have been just begging somebody to make it a mock draft where a tight end does not go to the Colts. And here we are. It's not even April Fool's Day anymore, right? And we're doing a draft, and so tight end is off the board at this pick for them, right? Armand Membu here could be a really good pick to replace Fries. A lot of people might think that Jalen Walker would be good here. I am going to go against conventional wisdom because I think Malachi Starks is one of the best players in the draft. And I know we don't see a lot of safeties taken in the first round, but he's a game changer. And they need secondary help. So I think Malachi Starks here.
So a quick little plug. Check out a video that dropped last week on this channel about Malachi Starks. And, there just might be something to the Colts drafting him that we both agree on.
That he's pretty darn good.
That he should not be falling to the second round. We could get into a long tangent about that and me complaining.
Yeah, well, we could get in a long tangent about a lot of safeties that drop that shouldn't. So
yes, safeties matter. Teams, look at the teams who win. What do they all have? A good safety. Now, here I am with the Falcons, and I'm kind of torn because I should take an edge. I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that I should take an edge, but I did just cut Grady Jarrett. And there's a defensive tackle that's kind of calling my name. But I will have to pass on him. Strictly because who the hell else is going to get to the quarterback? Who? And I'm going to take James Pierce Jr. here. I think that's a dude who Disappointed his last year at college, there's no doubt in my mind. He was projected to be the number one pick, and he is now middle of first round, if that. He's an extremely talented player, has some good bursts, has a good get off, has some decent technique, needs to be refined a bit more. But you kind of know who he reminds me of watching him play, just his play style. Leonard Floyd, a guy that Morris had great success with the Rams. They play very similar. Floyd was a great athlete. Can play the run, can get to the quarterback. That's what James Pierce Jr. reminds me of. I'm not certain I expect him to ever be an elite edge, but I expect him to have a long career in the NFL and produce it at a very good level, and that's just something the Falcons need at that position.
No, I think that you're right there. They do need him. Would you have thought about Ezeraku here?
So, for those who don't know, I love Donovan Ezeraku. And the reason I would probably take Pierce over Ezeraku is strictly because I think Pierce is just a bit more athletic for the NFL game. Ezeraku, I think, is a technician. He had great production at Boston College, and he is a technician that can set things up beautifully. He is like a conductor of orchestral music, and how he sets everything up that the next note is phenomenally well put. But I don't know how much he'll do as a lead rusher. I think he might be a bit more of a Robin to a Batman. And James Pierce Jr. can possibly be a Batman one day, even though I see him more of like a Robin-Batman mix. A Nightwing, perhaps.
Okay, fair enough. I hate having to pick good players for teams in the NFC West.
Do you want me to take over here? I'll take over.
No, that's quite all right. So here's the thing. They obviously need offensive line help still. They need defensive line help still, secondary help. I have made note that I think that Tet McMillan is not a top 10 pick, but that's not saying that I don't think that he's not uber talented. And that's not saying that he's not my number one wide receiver on the board. But what he has going for him here is that Kyler Murray's a smaller quarterback that on an outside throw, he needs somebody that's big and rangy. I mean, look what he did, with receivers in the past and where he excelled, right? And so I think taking Tet McMillan here, playing opposite of Harrison, that's a pretty good duo right there.
Yes, and hey, he wouldn't really have to get too familiar with the area.
Well, I guess there is that.
And he is used to playing with a short quarterback. I believe Fafita is actually shorter than Kyler Murray.
Oh, well, see? I mean, it's like they were meant to be with each other.
So, question, who's your other Michigan draft crush?
I'm not telling you.
We both know who it is, and we both know I'm about to pick him here.
I'm not telling you.
The Cincinnati Bengals, and this pains me because I would love this man to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, but I don't see a world in where he falls to them. Kenneth Grant is going to be a Bengal. He does everything the Bengals need. He can get to the quarterback. He can play the run. He has a high motor that just does not give up on the play. He is someone you fall in love with when you watch him, and he's just kind of an AFC North football player. It'd be a real shame if he plays in a different division, honestly. He fits the cold weather. He fits that physical, grinded out game, and you just throw a dartboard at a defensive position, the Bengals need to draft it.
Well, now, so at this point, if I was the GM for the Seahawks,
you're calling up and cursing the Bengals GM.
Well, I'm actually sending a lot of nasty texts to quite a few teams. And to be quite honest, I think I would probably try to trade out here. But since we're not doing trades, and we're assuming that Are we assuming that these players are all healthy?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless we have like confirmed medicals like on Jihad Campbell or Abdul Carter, we just have to assume.
Okay. Okay. I'm still.
See, this is what's torn him is he's picking for his team here, and he's like, well, they could use a wide receiver. Cooper Kupp's older. Well, they could use offensive line. Geno Smith got murdered. I'm afraid for Sam Darnold's health. Edge is still possible here. Donovan Ezraku's a really good player. There's so many things to go, and he's just honestly bummed out that his tight end is off the board.
Yes, I've done a ton of mock drafts, and in those mock drafts, by taking a tight end there with 5 picks in the top 100, they've been able to address some of their other needs. So here's the thing. I like Ezraku, but they have a lot of power currently on the roster anyway. They need that from an edge standpoint. They need that explosion, and he just doesn't provide that explosion. Josh Simmons, I view him more of just a tackle instead of somebody that might be able to go inside currently. Picking up another tackle on the off chance that Lucas doesn't come back fully healthy, even though, I mean, all the current reports are saying that he looks good. Same thing with Kelvin Banks. I'm looking at Kelvin Banks going, I really think he can slide into play guard. He's got great footwork. He's got a little bit of nasty, and putting him at guard, I think, would be really good. And Matthew Golden, I think he would be really good opposite of JSN. I mean, he's a really good route runner, and that's going to be something valued by this offensive. So I am like really, really torn. There is no doubt about that. That being said, I think I'm going to take Kelvin Banks Jr. Play him at guard this year, and then if he needs to kick out, you can kick him out to tackle in future years. And sorry that I just added an hour onto this mock draft.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure my time ran out from a first round.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
So here I am with the Bucks, and I could go a couple directions here. And there are 2 players that come to mind. I'm going probably with a defensive player, front 7. Donovan Ezraku, who I love to death. Or Shamar Stewart, who I have actually as an interior D lineman, more of his hand in the dirt. Now you're probably asking, we have been very hard on production. Why would we take Stewart here? I would just like to see Stewart work with Todd Bowles, to be honest, because I think Todd Bowles can get the most out of him. That being said, I love Donovan Ezraku. They have Hassan Reddick. Ezraku gets to work with Todd Bowles. There are other guys in that line which would lead Ezraku to more man-to-man plays, one-on-ones, and that kind of gets me excited. And as a big Ezraku fan, I would love to see him excel, and be in Tampa Bay, I think he would do just that. So give me Donovan Ezraku here.
There we go. I like it. And since I wasted so much time, I'm not even going to waste time on this pick.
Luther Burden.
That's exactly who I'm picking here. So they need wide receiver help. He is my favorite wide receiver in this draft. He plays so well with what Bo Nix does the best. So yeah, they're just going to draft Luther Burden here and pick up a running back later on in the draft.
What do you think about the talk of him falling to the second round? I think it's a load. I honestly think it's a load of BS, but
well, here's the thing. We have heard it all that typically they're usually 18, between 15 and 18 first round grade right? And then everything else is a second round grade. So say 16 to, to 64 are second round grades, right? And usually not. We have also heard this year that there's maybe 10 bona fide first round grades, and that everything from the point where you think you have a first round grade to 50, it's a pick your poison, right? So, I mean, need and play style and everything. I mean, yeah, there's a guy there are going to be guys that we pick here today that go into the second round, and then there's going to be guys that you're like, what? But a team likes them better, right? And so it's honestly, I think this year's draft, more so than quite a few others, is going to be a choose your own adventure.
So, and maybe this is the reason why I don't get the Luther Burden as a second round pick talk is watch that 2023 film. Watch it when his quarterback was actually able to get the ball out on time, when his quarterback was healthy. You saw one of the best playmakers in college football. He was arguably as good as Marvin Harrison Jr. that year. And we're hampering down on him because his quarterback play dropped off a cliff. His offensive line was significantly worse. And we're hampering him for that when I don't see it.
I agree with you 100%.
And
he's special.
I'm also stalling because I really don't want to make the pick because I know with what happened in this situation, and I don't want it to.
Take Mimbu.
I wish I could, but okay. So let me just say this: if I was picking here, I would take Walter Nolen Jr. because Walter Nolen is a beast. He's great against the run. He can get after the quarterback a little bit, and he just fits Pittsburgh Steelers football. But the draft falls like this, which I think it's gonna, and I have been very much, you check my Twitter page, I've been saying the Steelers are picking Shedeur Sanders. I am not a Shedeur Sanders guy. I do not have a first-round grade on him. I do not have a top 32 grade on him. Let's put it like that. If they think he's the quarterback, he is the pick. He fits how the Steelers draft. He is from a family of lineage. His dad played in the NFL. His brother is in this draft as well. He has some good tools. He fits Arthur Smith. He is a very play-action-based quarterback. He is very Ryan Tannehill-esque. So he does fit with what direction they're going. That's who I think the pick's going to be. I ain't happy about it, but if he succeeds, I'll happily be wrong.
So, just so we're clear, it's not Jackson Dart.
Don't even put that evil in the world.
I'm sorry.
Okay, if it's Jackson Dart at 21, I am going to be doing a 5-shot whiskey mix. I'm going to mix 5 whiskeys together, all going to be over 90 proof, and I'm just going to down it so I forget the night.
You'll wake up to a lot of pain then because it still won't have gone away. The Chargers, my beloved
Jim Harbaugh.
No, I was going to say San Diego Chargers just so you could rib me about it not being in San Diego anymore. But I think Matthew Golden here would be a sneaky good pick. I also think that Walter Nolen would be good. Nick Scorton here, I think, with the edge talent that they've lost, would be good. But let's face it, Harbaugh loves his traitsy guys too. And
do you want me to play the Jeopardy soundtrack or the Wheel of Fortune?
I think they're going to take Jalen Walker here. Yeah, they want Jalen Carter.
I'm sure Harbaugh does.
Whoops.
Hang on, what other team in the NFL doesn't want Jalen Carter?
100%. No, you're unright. Yeah, Jalen Walker here. My apologies.
Yeah. Okay. Now here I am with the Green Bay Packers. I go a lot of directions. I'm sure the fan base is screaming, "Draft a wide receiver! Draft a wide receiver!" The Packers are never drafting a wide receiver in the first round. Everyone needs to drop it. It's never happening. The sun is going to explode before the Packers draft a wide receiver in the first round. So that leads me going down the hole. Can I just say, I think this is a sneaky team that could take a running back round one. I know they have Josh Jacobs, but he only has really one more year under contract that they can get out of. And this is a really good running back class. I can see them taking one. I'm not going that direction, but I'm just saying, wouldn't shock me. But I look at the Packers. They draft a certain type of architect for edge, and that's Shamar Stewart. He just fits them. Maybe doesn't have the best production, but a guy you really think you could develop, get to the next level in the NFL, and reap the benefits.
Wow. That is a tradesy move. I can totally see that. Minnesota's on the clock. There's a lot of offensive line talent that's on the board that they could use. I really don't think that they need another wide receiver. Interior defensive line, I think, is a plus. I know they just gave Jones some money, but Omari and Hampton here.
You got to take the offensive lineman with what I think the Texans are doing, or else Texans fans might want me dead.
They're going to take Omari and Hampton. Genty is like 1A, right? And I think Hampton is like C. And then I'm not sure if the next, on an alphabet scale, I'm not sure the next back isn't like an E. And that's not saying that they're not good. I'm just saying that they're those two are by far, in my opinion, the best of, so.
Okay. I have two guys graded higher than Hampton.
Huh?
Two more than Genty. Now, here are the Texans. Boy, would I love to take an offensive lineman. I'm sure C.J. Stroud would love that. But what have I been saying with these Kyle Shanahan archetypes? These guys who work with Shanahan, they don't invest in the line early. It's something historically has not been done. So I'm not going to waste my first round pick trying to predict the Texans when I know they're not going that direction. I think it's obvious where they're going. I think they're drafting Emeka Egbuka. He has chemistry with C.J. Stroud. He played with C.J. Stroud at Ohio State. They worked very well together. And I think he'd be fitting into that third wide receiver role in the Texans day one, which is more where I would like to see him suited at. He wouldn't have to be the one. Nico Collins is there. And Christian Kirk is probably going to be the two for a year. And then you have Emeka Egbuka. You go that direction then.
So you say that historically speaking, but this is really only a couple of years with this group. And the first year they got their edge and they got their quarterback.
I'm saying with Kyle Shanahan disciples overall.
Okay. Hey, just so you know, remember how I brought up Trey Lance? Here on Twitter, he is trending.
Yeah, because the Cowboys trade for Joe Milton, and fans are upset that they just didn't re-sign Trey Lance. They traded a 5th-round pick.
Oh, well, okay. There you go. Let's see. LA is on the clock. God. They're going to take Membu.
Thank Christ, because that's who I was about to have to take.
I'm like, to be quite honest, I kind of forgot that he was on the board still when Seattle drafted. Not gonna lie.
So you messed up, and the Rams reap the rewards.
Yeah.
So,
I hate drafting good players for teams in my division. Have I said that before?
well, don't worry, I'm about to have to do it. Now, I could see the Ravens go in a couple directions here. I could easily see them going to Walter Nolan. I could easily see them going Josh Simmons. I could even see them going Matthew Golden. But that's not the direction I'm going to go. And you're probably saying, well, that's not Ravens' pick. No. This guy who I had them picking, I'm very high on. I think NFL teams are going to be higher on him than media types in general. That's why I think he goes in the first round, probably before here, but I just didn't pick him. That'd be Nick Scorton from Texas A&M. It's a dude who was had phenomenal production at Purdue when he was a pass rusher, and then he went to A&M and he controlled the line of scrimmage. He just fits what Baltimore does. He can get after the quarterback or he can control the line of scrimmage. He can help be a contributor for that defense day one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. The Lions. Oh, the poor Lions. They Golden here makes a lot of sense. They need edge help, of course, but I mean, in my opinion, all of the edges, I don't see one that I would feel comfortable taking here. That's me personally. I know you and I are so different on this player, but I'm going to take Derek Harmon here. He'll give inside pressure to help offset pressure on the outside.
Yeah. He's a good pass rusher. I will not deny that.
Well, and remember, these are all prospects, so.
Yes. I would say this. I would think the Lions would be more likely to go Nolan just because he kind of fits a bit more of that hard-nosed type architect that the Lions go with. But here I am with the Commanders. Similar to you, there's not really an edge I would really feel comfortable taking here. Landon Jackson and Braden Swinson are my next two guys on my list. They're both very developmental in my opinion.
I really like Landon Jackson, though.
Same, but I think he's very developmental still.
Yeah.
And I'm just uncertain of making that selection here. Instead, I'm probably going to go with something that might sound crazy. I'm going to take Matthew Golden. Strictly because I don't know how much you're getting at Deebo Samuel. He is a very physical player that's played a very physical style. Those guys don't age great. Scary Terry, still phenomenal. But it's very common, especially with Cliff Kingsbury's offense, that you have three wide receivers on the field at all times. Matthew Golden would be a very good third, and he could play both inside or outside.
Fair enough. I really like him inside. I think his best routes seem to be coming from the inside, but. Wow.
That threw you for a loop, didn't it?
Well, I was kind of thinking I was going to take him. And once again, where Buffalo could really use an edge. And a lot of the on the defensive side, I think. But this one's so they got beat up last year in that game against
the Chiefs.
They got beat up. And so the player that I'm going to pick for them is someone you're not going to beat up. I'm going to take Nick Emenwari. Comes down in the box, can help with the run fits. They definitely needed help with the run fits. He's fast enough. He's, long enough to where he can help out. I think that he would be really, really cool player to play with there. You could even use him in blitz sets, or they like to mess around with linebackers. I mean, you could technically get him use him as a like an off-ball linebacker if needed, right? So I think Bean is really good about taking players that you wouldn't think are going to work and making them work in his offenses or his defenses.
Well, that's, I think, a lot of credit due to Sean McDermott and just the defensive mastermind he is.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Wow. So, in this situation, I see two things happening. I see Andy Reid saying, "Ooh, I want the offensive lineman." I see Patrick Mahomes like, "Please draft the offensive lineman." And I see Spags over in the corner running, saying, "Draft Walter Nolan, please." But I gotta draft the offensive lineman. I do not like the Chiefs' offensive line right now. I think it's worse than it was last year, and I wasn't a big fan of it last year. And you take a guy coming off an injury. I understand he's coming off an injury. He's so talented. He has such good film. Josh Simmons, man. I gotta take him.
Yes, 100%. I agree. So you and I were just talking about this today.
Can I throw out the guy I would pick here before you continue?
Yeah.
So remember how we said traitsy guy, Landon Jackson here.
I can totally see where you're going from there, right? And it works 100%. It works.
But it's the Eagles, and we all know who you're picking here because, of course, a guy falls to them.
Oh, who do you think I'm picking?
You got to be taking Nolan here to replace Milton, right?
No. What did I tell you today?
You assume I remember our conversations.
He is a interior defensive lineman.
Interior D lineman. Dun 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 dun. Oh. Well, everyone can see it on the screen. You might as well say it.
Alfred Collins.
Yep. Alfred Collins. I mean, we both like him.
He's a massive man. And here's the cool thing about Alfred Collins. I think that by drafting somebody like him, I think you're going to unlock Jalen Carter even more so than he's been unlocked in. And I mean, you're not running against that defensive line.
Okay, can I say I don't like this pick anymore because I just realized what it leads to?
What does it lead to?
The Browns drafted Walter Nolan and paired up two of my draft crushes, Walter Nolan, Abdul Carter with Myles Garrett. F that! Yeah, and I'd have the oddest pick. Browns fans, if we did the second round, you'd be drafting Walter Nolan right now. Now, this is interesting because when we do our opposite picks, we value different players for different teams, which is why this draft is so different than our last one. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you and I both have completely different philosophies. And we can even go back to last year. You just really started coming around last year to thinking that, defensive tackles are important and they need to be going in the first round. It's kind of like running backs. Though you have been so adamant that those two positions are not first round picks.
Hey. Who drafted the running backs and who didn't? Boom!
What are you talking about? Didn't I draft a running back in this?
You drafted two. I drafted none. Good guys win.
But it's on. I have it on video that said that you would take him at 3. Ashton Jeanty at 3.
And I would. And the reason why and I said this in my running back tier rankings, and in case anyone hasn't watched it, I view, and this is maybe a hot take, I view the top 4 running backs in this class I have, and this is in no particular order, I'm just going to list them off. Ashton Jeanty, Omarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, and Quinshon Judkins. I had them graded out as the highest running backs since Saquon Barkley. All 4 of them I have graded higher than Bijan Robinson.
Wow, that's crazy.
And also, this draft's just, it's weaker, man. I can't make the argument like, oh, running back doesn't make sense to this team, because I'm also like, well, there are some of my better players in this draft, and I don't see a lot of first-round grades. Especially when we get to the back end, and like you look at the Vikings. I personally would have gone offensive line, because I really do not like that offensive line still. But like, running back makes sense there. I think running back makes sense for the Texans. I think it makes sense for the Ravens, and that might sound crazy. Henry's only got 1 more year left on his deal, and I don't know how much longer he's got. Lions, I don't think so. Commanders? Wouldn't shock me. Bills? Wouldn't shock me. Chiefs? Wouldn't shock me.
No, you're 100% accurate there. It's some of the picks. Membu at 26. I am 100% sure he is going to go sooner than that, right?
Should have gone at pick 18.
There could be something said about that. But I do. I'm not going to lie. I do like Kelvin Banks Jr. as well. So I've had him in a lot of mocks for Seattle. So yeah, I do like that.
So here's what I'm just going to say at the last bit on the running backs. I do think we see Ashton Jeanty go top 10, and I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Hampton also go top 10. I think Hampton probably goes 12 to Dallas, and I think starting at pick 20, a lot of those picks could be a running back. It would not shock me if we see 3, 4 to 5 running backs go round 1.
So I'm going to stick with 2. I think it's going to be 2.
It's going to be crazy, and listen, that just shows how this class is viewed. We really don't effing know what's going to happen. Like, we say that every year. But this class, it's so different because we truly don't know.
Well, look at last year.
Penix.
Tackles, wide receivers, quarterbacks, right?
Latu was the first defensive player taken at 15.
Yeah, at 15, right? So
Falcons fans would love that this year if they got Abdul Carter like that.
Oh, God. Yes, they would.
Falcons
they probably wouldn't.
Why?
Yeah, but the Falcons wouldn't take him. They'd probably take like a tight end.
Their fan base would burn the city to the ground. Okay. Well, that's going to wrap us up for today. I hope you guys all enjoyed this. If you liked the video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 200 subscribers by the NFL draft. This is coming out on Monday. We got some more draft videos coming out. I'm sure this won't be our last mock draft. We'll probably wait and see if a trade happens. But this is just fun. Share this, please. Share the love. Share the hate. Whatever your thoughts are on the mock draft. Showcase them in the comment section. We love this. It's the NFL draft. It's all about debate. It's all about fun. This is like Christmas. You get a new toy and you're excited to play with it. That's what sports fans get. That's what football fans get here. And just enjoy it. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.